All right, thank you everyone for joining us today for the Instructional Technologies Fireside Chat. I'm going to get started with introducing, my name is Gina Baker, I'm the Director of Client Services. Before I get started into the presentation, I do want to let everybody know that we will be recording this session for later playback, and we will send out a link when we are completed with the session today to everybody who is registered for the event. So if you need more information, it will be there. So thank you for joining us. We're going to get started, and before we do, if you have any questions, please there's a question box on the side. We have muted the phone, so if you have any questions, you can just type your information into the box on the side. And then we're going to go through some tips and tricks from the past year, including ideas from our new Sentix product, and then share with you some information on some new content that we've launched. Today, your hosts will be fellow people from Instructional Technologies and myself. We have Erin Purvis, who is our Chief Technology Officer. And Erin, if you could just unmute your phone and say hi really quick, that'd be great.
I can do that. Hello. Thank you all for participating, and we're glad you could be here.
Great. And I'm going to share just a little tidbit about each of our presenters today, especially it being the holiday time of year. So one of Erin's favorite things about the holidays is the large family gatherings and the smell of the grand fir Christmas tree. Next up we have, sorry, say that again?
I forgot to add, I like cookies too, frosted sugar cookies. So
okay, that's good to know.
Critical. I wanted to make sure that was part of the presentation and recorded for posterity.
Excellent, excellent. Next up we have Roy Broomfield. He is in charge of our curriculum development. And Roy, do you just want to unmute really quick and say hi?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Great. So one story that Roy shared about his childhood was he received a skateboard one year, and his dad insisted on testing it in his pajamas. Needless to say, it did not end well. We'll let you use your imagination. Next up, we have Laura McMillan, our VP of Training and Development. And
hi, everyone. Welcome.
Thanks, Laura. And one of Laura's favorite Christmas presents was an easy bake oven, where she said that she made wonderful treats for everyone. Then there is myself, Gina Baker. I'm the Director of Client Services. One of my favorite parts about the holidays is all the Christmas sweets and treats, specifically sugar cookies with frosting on the top of them. And then finally, we have Robin, who is our behind-the-scenes guru for this. And Robin, you just can say hello really quick.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today.
Great. And what Robin really enjoys about the holidays is the festive holiday crafts. So I'm going to switch over to our agenda here. So we have 5 different sections. The first section is we're doing a public service announcement about the spotted lanternfly training that we've just launched. Then Erin is going to go into Centex Pro. Laura will tell us more about incident-based training. And then Roy will discuss ProDefense. We'll give you some examples of incident-based training and ProDefense in the system, and then also look at our Centex base that now has groups. All right, so first up is the spotted lanternfly. So the spotted lanternfly has been deemed the most devastating species in 150 years. It's an invasive species with 2 established populations, one in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, and one in Winchester, Virginia. The bug eats practically everything, including grapes and hops, so wine and beer, as well as hardwoods, forestry, and we've heard of incidences with up to 90% crop losses reported. These are the different areas. So there are several counties in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Virginia, Maryland, Connecticut, and New York that have found the bugs. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Virginia counties have quarantines to stop the spread. And then specifically, there is training required in selected quarantine areas. So the training is required for if a fleet is stopping, loading, or unloading in quarantine areas in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. They are required to take the training and get a permit. Fuel stops count too, and the only exception for the training is stopping for normal traffic. So essentially, if they're just passing through. The state of Pennsylvania, or Penn State University, has developed a training for managers. So there are 2 steps to getting a permit. First of all, the manager takes a free course through Penn State's Agricultural Extension Service. It's about a 2-hour course, and once complete, the manager can order the permits for the drivers to put in their trucks. Then the manager goes back and trains the staff, and it can be done by the manager, or you can assign a training that we've developed through Instructional Technologies. So we offer a 10-minute lesson for drivers to get permits for areas that are quarantined. And if you're interested, you can find more information on our website, instructiontech.net/lanternfly. At the end of this presentation, when we send out a link to the presentation, we will include a link for this lanternfly information as well. If you're interested, you can fill out a form online, or you can contact our client services team, which will provide you information for our team as well at the end of this presentation. So next up, we're going to talk about Centex Pro and some of the ways that we have made some customizations for clients over the past year. And I'm going to turn it over to Aaron for that.
Great. Well, thank you all again for attending. I really appreciate it. And just a quick apology. I didn't mean to step over Gina's love for frosted cookies. It's just we have a lot of really great bakers in the office, and if you don't put in a good word from time to time and get it on record, you might get left out. And I just can't afford that this holiday season. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Centex and Centex Pro and some of the things we've done with that this year. It's kind of amazing. We released Centex Pro, or Centex in general, about 12 months ago, or just under 12 months ago. And in that time, we've had a really great adoption. We've got over 30% of our clients have converted already to Centex. And it's all based, everything we've done with Centex has really been based on feedback from clients. We're very industry focused. We're focused on transportation and the needs of our clients in that area. And they had a lot of unique challenges. And with Centex, we're able to help them with a lot of those. So I wanted to just kind of point out a few of the things that we've done this last year that have helped, and people might find some value in, or might want to follow in some of these steps as well. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is segmenting business units, locations, and regions, basically the hierarchy, different hierarchies that companies have. Then I want to touch into custom reporting and some of the things we've done there. Some new features and add-ons that we've created, called one specifically group training, and then also customized dashboards, which have been very popular. So with the first one, the segmented business units, locations, regions, big shocker, every business is different. Every business organization is unique and has unique needs. With Centex Pro, we've been able to accommodate pretty much every organization thrown at us. Whether you have divisions, regions, locations, business units, teams, terminals, job titles, or just herd cats, we can work it out generally. you name it, we're pretty good at accommodating it. So this really comes into play, and the whole point of accommodating your hierarchy and all that is with assignments and reporting. Reporting really allows you to gain insights into how your organization is performing. So this is really where we shine. We get to help our clients solve problems, and that's ultimately what it's about. It's not about the gee whiz tech or the colors on the screen or whatever. It's about how it solves a problem for you or makes your life a little easier or saves you time, and that's really what we're all about. So in this particular example on screen, we have a client that was looking to gain more accountability around their orientation program. They use a combination of online training and in-person training, and every new hire, they were being lost in the process, and they were looking to us to help them find a solution. So working together, we were able to come up with a process and report that helped them track each stage of the process and gave them the visibility they were looking for. Each stage of the process is highlighted and color-coded based on the length of time the user has remained at each step. So if someone's in the green, they've been in that step for a period of 7 days in this example. If they moved past that, they moved into a yellow zone out to 14 days. And if they spent more than 14 days at a particular step in the process, they were highlighted in red. So it kind of gives you the stair-stepping effect on the report, but it makes it really quick and easy to determine if someone's in compliance or not, or where they need to be. It should be all greens all the time, regardless of how long they've been in the process. So this has really helped them develop accountability and buy-in for the process. The next one that we have here is kind of a scorecard. Scorecarding is another commonly requested report. Again, we had a client that was looking for a way to see where every location stood on their monthly and quarterly training requirements on an organizational basis, basically a scorecard. So one way to get training compliance and buy-in is to turn it into a competition. That's been a very well-received concept. Safety is competition, or accountability is competition, especially between different locations and different teams, divisions, what have you. We actually have clients, some of these locations will call us before the first of the month because they want to find out what next month's training topic is going to be from the corporate level, hoping they can gain a little bit of insight and get ahead of the other locations that they're sort of competing with. It's a friendly competition. There's no life on the line or anything like that necessarily. It's not very high stakes, but usually it's bragging rights, and they like being at 100%. So it drives compliance pretty well. So with that in mind, here we show each location, their head count, the number of drivers that are complete within that organization, and a completion percentage. This particular report actually will drill down. So as you click onto the head count or the completion count, it will actually show you the list of users that are still not complete and need to get trained. So it makes it real easy for the managers at those locations and higher up in the organization to get a good visibility on where they're at, where their organization stands. So this helped convert their training from an afterthought at locations into something they're actively looking at and trying to get ahead on. The next thing we added, feature we added, and this is relatively new to Centex Pro, is group training. This has been one of our most requested features, actually, especially in warehouse environments where it's difficult to train employees on an individual basis, or the resources just aren't available for one-on-one training. With this add-on to ProTread, with Centex Pro, you can train groups of individuals in a classroom-type environment, and then you register them within the system so you have the compliance and accountability records that you still need. We still believe that individual self-paced training is the best way to learn, but this gives you another tool when that's just not practical. With this tool, the instructor can log in. They present the training just like they would normally, except it's to a group of individuals in a classroom, and then they take it just from the standard menu as they would normally, and then after they've presented that course, they can then come into the group training module and enter in the information that's relative. So in other words, they'll put in their trainer's ID, the date that they completed the training, and then the lesson they presented and the location, and that takes them to this screen. Here you can see the users at that location, or the employees at that location, in this case Vancouver, and then there's a blue button that lets them mark each one of them as complete. So it's a very quick and easy way to mark everyone as complete within that course. And this applies to assignments that may be required company-wide. So if these people were all required or part of an overall assignment for the organization, using group training is a way of gaining compliance on that overall corporate assignment or any other assignment as needed. And another quick note on here, in red, we have a certification statement, because we are trying as best we can to put certain safeguards in place for the company and for the organization to make sure that people aren't sort of just making things up or falsifying records or things like that. So that there's a certification statement that goes along with them clicking each one of these as complete. And it only allows them to register training that they've actually completed, and on a specific date. They can't use the same do one training one day and say, oh yeah, I did that same training these 10 other days too. It's actually recording the fact that or checking the fact that that lesson was actually presented on those days as well, not just the one day. So it makes it really good. You get a good accountability out of it. On the customized dashboards, boy, we've had a great deal of requests and all kinds of different dashboards. They're a really popular feature in Centex Pro, and we've had clients use them in several different ways. From at-a-glance scorecards like the dashboard on the left, to heat maps of in-person trainers, as you can see there on the right. We're able to create dashboards that follow your hierarchy and organization, combined with the access levels of managers within the system, to show them only the information and the employees within their scope. This gives everyone quick access to the information they need as they need it. It's always timely, it's always relevant. And the nice thing is it's like I said, it's real time, and we can build these for almost any need that you might have. Anything that fits well or lends itself to a quick and ready access to data, whether it's compliance or, in this case, where people are located within the country. This is just a couple examples. We track hazmat at locations. We track UN numbers. We track location profiles. We track all kinds of different things. So we have a good deal of customization and ability within Centex Pro as a platform. So we're especially good at solving problems. And we love it best when our clients come to us and say, hey, we've got a need here and we're not sure how to solve it or what to do. We're really good at coming up with solutions for that type of thing. We're not just a typical LMS or training program. We have a lot of capabilities. So give us a shot sometime.
Great, thank you, Aaron. I am now going to turn it over to Laura to learn more about incident-based training.
Okay, great. Thanks, Gina. Welcome, everyone. Well, this is the time of year when we are all become very busy with many holiday activities going on and keeping us up at night. So for those of you out there listening, are you finding yourself out enjoying holiday cheer with your family and friends? Perhaps you are staying up late at night trying to put together your kids' or grandkids' toys ready for Christmas Eve or the big day. Or maybe you're up late baking all kinds of Christmas goodies for your family and friends or for Santa. Or maybe you're busy eating Santa's cookies. Or, like many safety professionals, you may be unfortunately wondering or even worrying about your drivers. Maybe you're wondering about the winter hazards they face, or worse, worrying about accidents they may be involved in. Unfortunately, that is the life of many safety professionals, but we are pleased to provide some content solutions that will help you enjoy more worry-free nights and bring a little less stress and a little more cheer to the holidays and beyond. So let's, Gina, if you could click to the next page. Let's consider a few facts that lead to the stress of safety professionals. Most truck-related crashes happen between the 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. time frame. In other words, the wee hours of the night when we're not able necessarily to talk to drivers nor anyone else talk them through issues. And they often have to wait until morning when they can speak to your department or talk to an emergency maintenance team to get directions. regardless of whether your drivers are at fault or not, as determined out of the accident that they're in, or whether the accident is a DOT reportable incident or not, there's a liability gap that exists for your company. And what is that liability gap? It's the time between when the accident occurred and when you remediate your driver. And did you know that the average wait time for a driver to complete a remediation training is 15 days? That means for that 15 days, your company is carrying a liability burden in the event that that driver gets into another accident or incident within that 15-day time frame. It could be a minor incident, but that incident will be pointed out by a plaintiff's attorney as evidence that your company does not care about safety or the motoring public. So what do you do about that post-accident liability? Gina, next page, please. So we're pleased to provide a content solution set with incident-based training, and this allows you to address that post-liability gap very easily. We offer 15 mini lessons that are 10 to 12 minutes in length, and they're designed to address the root causes of truck-related crashes. And what we know about truck-related crashes is it's often behavior and not skill. And so in keeping with that, our lessons are designed to be very laser-focused, compact, condensed, and a very good review of key behaviors that are required of drivers to stay safe on the road. And what's more, those lessons are available 24/7 wherever your driver is. Wherever they have an internet browser access, they have access to those lessons. So there's no need to wait to access the lessons, no need to necessarily wait to come in to speak to somebody, and certainly no reason to wait 15 days more or less time frame to address the issue. You can have immediate relevant information pushed through to the driver based on the incident they're involved in, and basically document that you have done that immediate post-incident, post-accident training, have that on record, and help sort of bulletproof your records in the event that your company may be litigated against for the particular accident the driver was in. A lot of the basis for the training we put together is based on the American Transportation Research Institute's report predicting truck crash involvement. And just a note here, we'll send you the link after the webinar, but the link is listed there below. It's a terrific report. ATRI updates this every few years with new information. They have tracked accidents and driver-related skill and behavior components of accidents on over 100,000 drivers involved in the study for year over year for the last 10 years or so. So it's an excellent comprehensive study, and we encourage you folks to reach out and take a look at it. But in lieu of reading and absorbing the entire report, you can basically take advantage of the incident-based training that we offer and immediately activate that as a solution for your drivers in a post-incident, post-accident setting. So what are the topics we cover? Well, we cover a good gamut, again, as referenced by the report, of the most common incidents and accidents that occur. Avoiding fixed objects, helping that driver in close quarter maneuvering environments to avoid hitting stationary objects. Intersections, well, we know the vast majority of accidents happen at intersections, so it makes sense to have a lesson that focuses on the appropriate behaviors of drivers and how to safely navigate, negotiate through intersections. Hours of service as a way to address fatigue management and be aware of the accuracy of logbooks and maintaining safe hours of operation. Defensive driving, this will cover a broad gamut of the space and speed management, communication, and hazard awareness, the behaviors required of a driver. What are the special hazards of winter driving? We cover that in a separate mini lesson. Left turns, again, consistent with issues at intersections, we have a very hyper-focused lesson on left turns in the event your driver is involved in a left turn incident. We also have one on right turns too. Space management, so if you have a driver that's had issues in following distance behind other drivers, not maintaining appropriate space, we have a very specific lesson, mini lesson focused on that appropriate behaviors. Managing in-cab and out-of-cab distractions, that's increasingly a very key area of concern as far as truck-related crashes is the issue of distractions, and so this mini lesson addresses that. Rear-end collision avoidance, helps, again, with the specific issue of space management, not just in front of the truck, but also awareness of who is behind the truck and maintaining appropriate space around all 6 sides of the vehicle. Backing and docking, also specifically on close quarter maneuvering, but in the environment of actually backing into parking spaces or docking at a facility. Basic vehicle controls, maintaining a good understanding and operation of controls, especially in-cab safety instrumentation now, which is growing in popularity with the driver environment. Fatigue management, recognizing the signs of fatigue and what drivers need to do to ensure that they have proper quality sleep before they get behind the wheel. Right turns, as I mentioned, a mini lesson focusing on that specific intersection-related issue. And if a driver is involved in a right turn incident, this lesson can be helpful in reminding them what they need to be aware of in a right turn environment. Speed management. We know that speed too fast for conditions continues to be a top 3 incident and accident related cause. And so we want to put a focus with drivers into how they need to manage their speed effectively for the conditions presented to them. And then lastly, pre-trip inspection, the all-important making sure that drivers are doing essential planning their trip well ahead, and that includes a thorough and robust vehicle inspection process. Next slide, please. Wow, so that's a lot of lessons to take advantage of, and these are available to you. Just a couple of quick use cases. We have many clients who've learned about and discovered these lessons, and they are using them for post-incident and accident assignment. We have one client that has gone through the measure of using these after each in a post-incident accident situation. Even if it's a minor incident, they will assign these lessons to drivers as a quick reminder to them. And they make sure to document that driver's completed that lesson. Of course, that's an automated documentation through our system. And they've gone to the extra measure of asking their managers to have a coaching session with the driver using the lesson as a basis for conducting that conversation. So again, they have the lesson that they push to the driver, and then they have the backup conversation with the safety manager, fleet manager, and document that conversation. So they've covered themselves there and removed that liability gap, if you will. And another client we have uses the lessons preventatively. Most recently, they have implemented the winter driving lesson that's available, and they take that mini lesson and they've assigned it to all of their drivers as a way to put winter driving on the frontal lobe, if you will, to drivers, making them aware of that special hazards during the winter and how to pre-plan trips effectively, making sure they have emergency equipment on hand in their vehicle and so forth. So that's more of a preventative use, but that's certainly okay. These mini lessons are easy to activate, easy to push to drivers. They are received well by drivers because they're short and crisp and to the point. And so everyone likes that kind of training, right? So next slide, please, Gina.
Yep.
So with that in mind, we're going to flip to Roy, and we're going to talk about ProDefense.
Great. Thanks, Laura. Thanks for everybody for joining us this morning. I'm going to talk a little bit about our new ProDefense. At ITI, we've always had lessons around defensive driving, and they followed what's commonly been used within the transportation industry. But a little over 2 years ago, we had a client advisory group meeting, and the subject of defensive driving came up. And we were asked if we could create a defensive driving program that used an acronym or a phrase or something that would help drivers remember the steps to the program. As we looked at existing defensive driving programs, we realized that they did not necessarily deal with all the challenges faced by a modern commercial driver. So with that, ITI developed ProDefense, and it's been used by many of our clients already. Each letter of the word defense stands for a different aspect of the defensive driving program. The first letter is D, and that stands for distractions. Today, there are many distractions both inside and outside of the vehicle. The next letter is E, effective communication. This talks about understanding how to communicate with other road users. The next letter is F, and as Laura mentioned just now, fatigue management, and helping the drivers to understand the effects of fatigue and how to deal with them. The next letter again is an E, and this one stands for essential planning. knowing how to plan out each and every journey to eliminate anything unexpected. The next letter is N for navigating hazards, knowing how to identify and deal with all hazards and dangers that they may encounter. S stands for speed management. As Laura just mentioned, speed is a significant factor in many crashes, so understanding how to maintain a safe speed for every situation. And then finally, the final E is for evaluating space. This is how to maintain ample space around your vehicle to help prevent collisions. Now, most defensive driving programs out there don't target commercial drivers and the unique challenges that they face on a daily basis. ProDefense addresses these issues in a way that no other defensive driving program does, and probably goes one step further. Many of our clients that have already started using this has described ProDefense as an advanced defensive driving program that goes into much more detail and the specifics in a way that professional drivers understand and can use on a daily basis. ITI has 8 lessons as part of this ProDefense system. The first lesson is an introduction to the system and reviews each of these 7 topics with a general overview of the system. The other 7 lessons each go into individual topics and they go into detail about how to apply and use these various aspects of each topic. Used as a complete system, the 7 topics all work together as a defense or a shield to protect the driver and other road users from hazards and dangers on today's roads. The ProDefense content can be used by many clients, and many of them use them as a part of their employee onboarding to prepare their drivers for the challenges they may face. Or other clients have used them as an ongoing training program to enhance or build on their existing defensive driving programs that they may have already been trained upon. These lessons can also be used as part of the incident-based training, as Laura just covered. So I would like to hand things back over to Gina, who's now going to talk about how you can access these lessons and the incident-based training in Centex.
Great, thanks Roy, and thanks Laura for the information on the incident-based training and the ProDefense lessons. As Roy mentioned, I'm going to exit out of our presentation and into our Centex system here. And I wanted to show everyone in our Centex, so this is our Centex-based system, how you can access the information on incident-based training as well as the ProDefense lessons. So I've logged into the system and I've clicked on the Assign Lessons tab here. And in order to access, so first of all, the incident-based training lessons, I just type in IBT. We've actually added initials to the beginning of every lesson so that they're all listed together and they cover the 15 topics that Laura referenced. If you would like more information on the topic, you just click on the title. It gives a drop down with a description for that lesson, an approximate length of time, and then when that lesson was refreshed. Similarly, with our ProDefense lessons, if you type ProDefense into the search box, you will get the list of 8 lessons that Roy referenced. So the defense, and then also the introduction that he mentioned, an approach to safe driving. Again, these are all available for you with your subscription to either our legacy ProTread system or in Centex. The next topic we were going to bring up is that our Centex base now has groups. So I am logged into our Centex base system, and I just wanted to show you how that worked in the system and then tell you a little bit more about that before we wrap it up. In order to set up a new assignment in our Centex base system, you just click this Add New Assignment button. We have added in the ability to add a title and a description if you'd like to. I'm going to go ahead and set up a ProDefense lesson for my drivers who I've set up in the group ID ProDefense. So I select that group ID from the list that has been set up for those users. I put in my title and I click Continue, and then I have the ability to select which lessons I want on the left-hand side. Again, on the right-hand side, I do also have the ability to search on either the lesson title or the description. But since I know this is a ProDefense lesson, I'm going to scroll down to the ProDefense lessons. And there you can see the IVT lessons are also available to assign. And then I'm just going to select these 8 lessons for my drivers. So by clicking on the lesson title or within the box, it selects that lesson for you. You'll always know if it's selected or not by the fact that it's highlighted in green and, or sorry, highlighted in yellow and green check mark on the side. I scroll down to the bottom and click save. And now I have an assignment set up for everybody who is in my ProDefense group ID, and then all the lessons that are assigned. Now I can click on this view compliance button here, and that allows me to see all the drivers who are currently in my ProDefense group. However, let's just say that I have a new employee coming on my team, and I want to make sure that they have the ProDefense lessons as well. When I set up a new user into the system, I can always add them into the ProDefense group ID by just typing ProDefense in the group ID here. All right, I click confirm, and now I'm in the group ID ProDefense. And if I go to this Assign Lessons tab, I just select View Compliance, and now you can see that I added myself to that group as well. So you don't have to go in and assign those lessons to each new driver on the system. You just put them in that group ID, and they'll automatically get assigned those lessons. And then you'll know at any time the current status for those drivers by clicking on their name, and it gives you a list and the current status of each one of the lessons that were assigned. I am going to click back into our presentation here, and we're going to go through these one more time. And so, as I mentioned, we've now added group IDs. So one of the things that we've done this year is we've heard from customers that they miss the group IDs. So for any ProTread legacy customer or any customer that's currently on our Centex base system, we've added in the ability to have group IDs. So one group ID per person in the system. The Centex base system does give you also access to the ProTread mobile app, as well as gives you a unified login for users and administrators. So no longer do you need to, as an administrator, log into the admin side to sign training and log into the user side to view training. There's one login for everyone, or for each individual. We do have, as I showed you, the lesson content searches. So now you can search through the lesson content. We also have the ability to import and export users into the system, so you don't have to do them individually. And all of this is available to you at the same price as the current legacy ProTread system. If you are interested in learning more about it, at the end of this presentation, we will have information on how to contact our client services. And so that wraps up the content portion of our presentation today. Now I'd like to open it up and see if we have any questions or anything from anybody participating on the call today. I'll just leave that for just a few seconds if people want to type something in.
Gina, can I ask you a question?
Well, Tom, you certainly can ask a question.
Hi, everybody. It's the middle of winter right now. You talked earlier about the spotted lanternfly thing. Is that something that people need to be worried about now, or is that something that is, are the bugs active right now, or are they being spread around right now? Like, what are our big risk factors in Pennsylvania and whatnot right now?
Tom, that is a great question that you ask. Yes, the spotted lanternfly is a concern as of now. One of the things that I have heard anecdotally from a family member of mine, that they have been found in Christmas trees, as well as on plants that we've discussed, like grapes and hops. So it is something that is a concern now. It does seem as if it's spreading. We started out hearing about it in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and it has now gone down to Virginia as well. So we do think that it is an immediate concern, and definitely something that if your drivers are going through the Pennsylvania and New Jersey areas, for sure they will need that permit. However, we believe that there may be other states that follow suit as well.
Yeah. One of the things that we learned the other day talking to the Pennsylvania, one of the regulators from Pennsylvania from the Agriculture Department was that during the winter, the big issue mostly is that you'll find the egg masses on, possibly on things that you're putting inside your vehicle, but possibly if you haven't washed your vehicles or trailers in a while, you can find the egg masses actually on the vehicles themselves. But that she was also saying, you're not going to obviously find a lot of live bugs at the moment, but when they do start hatching, in the April-May timeframe, the state of Pennsylvania, the state of New Jersey, the state of Virginia, and probably New York and Connecticut as well are going to be really enforcing this during roadside inspections. And it's, they certainly have, they want to be very cautious about sort of how they're talking about, sort of the stick part of the carrot and the stick issue. But probably one of the biggest risks for fleets that aren't doing the lanternfly training is delays. If they find bugs or egg masses on your vehicles, they're talking about putting vehicles out of service. Holding them there while they're quarantined because they need to really inspect a truck. If they find one, they're afraid they'll find others. So in the course of talking to the folks from Pennsylvania and New Jersey, we found that it's a real concern, and it's apparently all over the news back east, or at least that's what we're being told. So since we're out here on the West Coast, what do we know?
It looks like we also had a question from someone about the spotted lanternfly training, if it applies to anybody picking up laminate wood flooring in New Jersey as well.
Yes. And it's mostly on sort of in eastern New Jersey is where they've currently found it. They're around Trenton. He says as though I know anything about the geography of New Jersey, but it's basically anytime you're picking up any sort of thing. This is not just a food issue. One of the big differentiators, the things that make the spotted lanternfly such a terrifying insect, is the fact that they will lay their eggs on just about anything, not just on natural products. They'll lay it on underneath your trailers. They'll lay it, inside your fender wells. Like they're very hardy insects, and they will lay their eggs just about anywhere. So they could be on pallets, or on the side of, if the laminate flooring comes in some sort of packaging, it could be on the underside of that packaging as well, especially if it's sort of protected from the elements. So that the short version is, if you are going into or out of the quarantine areas, what they're telling us is that this training is going to be a requirement, and that they are going to be enforcing it pretty vigorously, certainly in the early part of the year, as the bugs start to get into the hatch mode.
Great, thank you, Tom. Looks like we have a couple other questions. One was, when will you add new content out of the incident-based training as well as ProDefense programs? One thing I'll say about that is we're always looking for new content to be added to the list of available lessons. For sure, if you have any ideas or things that you'd like to see added to the content, definitely recommend that you send that information to our client services team. Next slide here, I'll have that information up for our client services team. We can provide that to our production team as well. We typically have a couple times where we really update content. One is anytime there's any DOT regulation changes, any updates to rules and regulations, we'll definitely update the lessons that we currently have available. as well as we get requests from customers, we update our lessons with additional information. So I know that we're working on a couple lessons now that have been requested. So one of the ones that was requested specifically was the spotted lanternfly. We got a request from a customer to have a lesson on that. So if there's any custom hosted content, or if there's any questions that you have about existing content or anything that you need, our client services team is available to help field those questions and ideas for you, and we're happy to pass that information on to others. And then the other question that I see we got here was, can you assign lessons to all users instead of a group inside of Centex Base? And the answer to that question is yes, you can. You have 3 different options for assigning lessons inside of Centex Base. The first option is to assign to all users. So you do not choose a group ID, you do not select a specific user, it'll assign to everybody on the file. The second option is you could assign to a group. So any specified group in the system that you've added, you can do that. And then the third option is to assign to a specific individual. So if, for instance, you have remedial training that you'd like to set up and assign an incident-based training lesson to an individual, you could set that up for that individual, or you could set it up for a group of people, depending on how you wanted to do that. All right, and I think that those are the questions for now that looks like we've been asked. So if there are no other questions, I'm gonna forward it. Like I said, we do have a client services team here available to you. We are in the office 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. We're available for you as safety leaders to assign training, set up users, but we're also available for your drivers. So should your drivers have troubles with logging in, should they have questions about a specific lesson that they're doing, don't hesitate to have them reach out to us as well. We are here to help however we can. And with that, I want to say thank you one more time for joining us today for the Instructional Technologies Fireside Chat. We hope that you found the information helpful for your organization, and we wish you all a happy holiday.